So that kind of a situation, it is possible only in the geography where Saraswati is a river of Haryana. So I think I have shown you a map in which all the rivers are there, wherein you can see Saraswati in between these. Yeah, at least this is a very small map, but see, there is Ganga here, there is Yamuna here, and then comes Saraswati, and then comes Sudutri. So this is a irrefutable kind of a positional defining the position of Saraswati between Yamuna river along the east of Haryana and Sudutri or Satluj river in Punjab. So the river Saraswati has to be east of Punjab and it has to be to the west of the eastern border of the Haryana, which clinches our evidence very clearly. So with that, I just end the talk. It was a little longer talk, but it was very important, throwing about all the very numerous kind of aspects related to Saraswati, which is not very familiar with in a common even in the research area. Also, this much information is not really discussed, and people get a very small bits and pieces here and there, so that they think that it, the Saraswati can be identified anywhere in the world, but there are clear indications that it is exactly in Haryana, which is very clearly coming out from our geography analysis. So anyway, good, look for questions, and then we can close.
Yeah. So you mentioned about Saraswant and the buffaloes. Can you reiterate what that connection was, sir?
Yeah. So in simple terms, Saraswati means a feminine name, and river Saraswati typically denotes the river Saraswati, and of course, because Saraswati is also considered as a goddess, so it's goddess Saraswati. Then, if you read Rigveda, you'll also see this terminology called Saraswant, and if you look at this grammar, then you will see that Saraswant is a male masculine name. So there are so many people, because the information in Rigveda is not like in Mahabharata. You have so many passages explaining what is what, right? So when you look at the Rigvedic suktas and slokas, people see the word Saraswant, and there are no explanations who the Saraswant is. So there are multiple interpretation of the word Saraswant, and one of the interpretation is that Saraswant, because it's a male name, there may be buffaloes, that is male buffaloes, who are actually like what do you call swimming in the water. So the river Saraswati have a lot of flora and fauna, and buffaloes are one of the flora fauna, that is animals which are species who are seen in the Saraswati river valley, etc. So some people consider it as an animal name, Saraswant as a buffalo. So for example, there are people who study the flora and fauna of river Saraswati. If you ask them, they will say, "Oh yeah, Saraswant. I know Saraswant. Saraswant is a buffalo. They are the buffaloes that they were inhabiting the Saraswati river." So they will interpret it like that. But actually, I am looking at the suktas and different references of the Saraswati, and considering Saraswant to be a rain cloud, so dark rain cloud, which is dark like buffalo. And the Saraswants are mentioned as nourishing Saraswati or enriching Saraswati. So that can be considered as the rain clouds bringing water into Saraswati, because climatically, if you look at that region, was especially 4,000 years ago, that region was a very good rain-fed region. That is also the main reason why the river Saraswati was a mighty river with a lot of water flow. So Saraswant can be also interpreted as the rain god which nourishes Saraswati. And rain god means the rain god in the sense it can also be the rain cloud. See, so climatologically, if you look at the rain god, is a rain cloud. So as far as I am concerned, I am bringing that particular interpretation where the word Saraswant can be considered as a kind of representing that climate in that region, with plenty of rains enriching the river Saraswati. That's what I have mentioned.
Got it, sir. Thank you. And
Yeah.
one more question that I had was from the geography that we can see,
Yeah.
there are so many rivers which are near to each other, like, and also in the references, as you had mentioned, we
Yeah.
had Yamuna, Ganga, and
Yeah.
then comes the references for Saraswati.
Ah.
What might have been the reason why Saraswati got such a greater extension of deification compared to Ganga or Yamuna during that time period?
Yeah. Yes. So one is one of the main reason, because these people have their base, that is their homeland, on the banks of Saraswati. So naturally they will talk more about the river Saraswati. For example, if somebody is in south in Kerala and they were in the Periyar River, their settlement is near Periyar River bank, they will always talk about the river Periyar more in their literature. But of course, they also mentioned about the Nila River or Pampa River, so Kaveri, etc. They will mention, but they will have a largest number of reference to Periyar River. Similarly, the people were living along the banks of Saraswati. So definitely they know Ganga. They go there for trade relationships, etc. They know about Yamuna River as one of the boundary river of these Kshetrashadvati is their primary boundary of the Kurukshetra or Vara Prithivya. But immediately after that, they will get Yavyavati and Yamuna within few kilometers. So they know about all these rivers, and they know to some the Ganga is familiar to them because the Ganga is referred as part of a trade relationship. That is, the Bribhu was a trader king in on the banks of Ganga. Vishwamitra went to Ganga as part of conquest, and then named Ganga Jannavi, named as part of his ancestor Jannavi. So that way, as a frontier territory, they know about Ganga, and in frontier eastern territory, they know about Ganga, and to some extent, they also have a familiarity with Satluj River, even though they don't they consider itself like a little far away, and then say maybe many of the kings might have thought in their mind, okay, they will conquer the regions along Satluj River at some point of time, etc. As a kind of river with some anticipation. And of course, there may be travels to Satluj River in the west, in Punjab, etc. And of course, in the seventh mandala, this is realized when the King Sudas, who was one of the biggest conqueror king in the Ṛgveda and most famous king, he conquered territory of up to Satluj River and beyond Satluj into Parishti River, that is in the Indo-Pakistan border. So by third and seventh mandala, the everything become very familiar to them as part of their own territory. But if you look at Divodasa, the ancestor of Sudas, he is praised as the gift of Saraswati. So they are all, they're completely a horizon confined to the river Saraswati banks. Even Srinjaya, who is a older king than the Vodasa, they were all familiar with this Saraswati. So that is why Saraswati is from very beginning onwards and towards the end, that is a single river that defined them as their native river. So
Understood, sir.
that's why it is more mentioned around 70 times, the largest number of references. So that many number of times the river is mentioned. And for example, for a comparison, some rivers are mentioned only once. So here Saraswati is mentioned 70 times. Some other rivers are mentioned only once. So that is a kind of importance to river Saraswati.
Namaste. So we've seen the journey of Saraswati from, if you from the Apri Suktas, you have Ila, Bharti, and Saraswati. So even those three were rivers. To going to the triad of rivers, Ganga, Jamuna, and Saraswati. And then to having the triad goddesses, that is Lakshmi, Parvati, and Saraswati. So we see that journey going from Apri Suktas, the three rivers, to the contemporary rivers, and then to the three goddesses. So my question is that, first question, that when it was in the Apri Suktas, and if the people were living around the Saraswati, and that is why Ila, Bharti, Saraswati were in that area, Then how come Ganga, Yamuna, and Saraswati started overlapping? Was this because of migration? And after that, when, as you rightly said, 8th, 9th, and 10th Mandala, the culture started developing, and Saraswati was such a huge part of the culture. So then, how come Parvati at that time, Parvati and Lakshmi joined in to form
Ah.
that tribe of goddesses?
Yeah. So just one correction, like in the Ila Bharati and Saraswati, in which only river Saraswati is the only river there, and Ila and Bharati are represented by place names. So it is one river Saraswati and two places related to Ila and Bharati. So there was in terms of river, and there is only one river Saraswati there.
So they were not tributaries of rivers Ila and Bharti near. I mean,
Oh,
no. Acha,
they
they were
were
just
yeah,
places.
they
Okay.
were place names. Like Saraswati is flowing, and very close to the river Saraswati, sacred place of Ila, sacred place of Bharati. That is what Ila Saraswati Bharati is like.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Three goddesses, two goddesses represented by places, and one goddess represented by a river. That is Ila Bharati Saraswati, and then later on, this Ganga, you mentioned Ganga Yamuna Saraswati, right? So that transformation happened after the Ṛgvedic period, even after late Ṛgveda, when the Pandava, this Mahabharata period, starting onwards to the Mahabharata period, even not in the Ramayana. So even Ramayana, the Saraswati was not very much mentioned in see that's you can see in Valmiki Ramayana, very less number of mention of Saraswati there, because the center of focus was Ayodhya to the eastern side. So geographically, even though Ramayana is older than the Pandava period, and according to my analysis, 100 years older. But because it's a focus of geography was towards the
On the eastern side, yes.
eastern side. Saraswati was a peripheral river, so the Valmiki was not much having good information about Saraswati.
Right.
But if you look at Mahabharata, which is like a kind of a direct geographical continuity, and the focus also was not very much towards the east. Focus was completely on to the Hastinapura, and it was on Ganga. So at that period, you have the concept of Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati. So the situation was the Ganga was the river of the practical river at that period of time. Ganga is the river that sustains the Shantanu and his descendants in living in Hastinapura. Yamuna is more or less like a border river, or a river in the middle, flowing through the middle of the kingdom. And the places towards the west of Ganga were sacred. There is sacred region, but nobody was living there because Saraswati lost its flow. Almost 50% of the flow in Saraswati was lost. Because even Saraswati the river was flowing even during the period of Kurukshetra war. Also, the river was flowing, but it was a very close to the 50% to 40% reduction in the flow. So it was no longer a very sustainable river at that time. But it was a very sacred, already sacredness of the river has increased. See, so that considered as a very sacred river, and the river where their ancestors lived. And that is why the significance of Kurukshetra also came, because onto the eastern bank of river Saraswati is the sacred land of Kurukshetra, where they think if you die there, you will reach Swarga. So that way, that significance. So three rivers, one river that directly sustains them, Ganga. Another river, even Yamuna also sustains the Kurus. It's also a powerful river because almost all the waters which was earlier flowing through Saraswati was actually flowing through Yamuna. So Yamuna is a sustaining river. Saraswati is no longer as mighty river which sustains big cities, but still it was the cradle of the civilization. So that respect they were giving. So you have three rivers: Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati. And later, when your Puranic period, like after the Pandava era, Pandava's lifetime, after the end of Pandava era, you have Janamejaya and other people coming, and the Puranic, the dominant focus of the Puranic period starts. At that time, you have goddesses like Lakshmi, Parvati, and Saraswati. Even there, Saraswati didn't lose the place because it is impossible for Saraswati to lose the prominence. So if you look at the Indra and was a great king in Ṛgvedic period, and Saraswati was a great goddess in the Ṛgvedic period. Whereas in the Puranic, when this Puranic period started, the prominence shifted to Vishnu,
Yeah.
Maheshwara, and Shiva.
Brahman.
And Indra doesn't have that prominence, but still you see Saraswati is there, and the triple goddess. You have Parvati, Saraswati, Lakshmi. So Lakshmi, Saraswati, Parvati. So Saraswati is a goddess who continues to have the same reference in the Ṛgvedic period and in the Puranic period as well. Any other questions?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we also have the significance of Sindhu River, but much of the Puranic lores don't actually emphasize Sindhu so much. Is it only because of the migration and disassociation of people from Sindhu and only associating themselves with Ganga, or was there any other reference of Sindhu being given?
Yeah. So after Saraswati, the river Sindhu gets referred along large number of periods. So it is a second river which is mentioned after Saraswati. So that prominence is definitely there. And Sindhu also called as Mataram. So as mother, etc. She is mentioned as mother. Sindhu Mata. All these terms are there in the Rig Veda. But what happened is that, see, when the Saraswati river lost its dominance as a river that can sustain big cities, people chose to, the authors of Puranas, they chose to migrate eastwards, and they all settled in Ganga river instead of moving westwards and settling in Sindhu river. So all the authors of Puranas, that is even Itihasas, like including Vyasa was still there. Vyasa's ashramas were there between Yamuna and Saraswati. So he didn't move that much to the eastern side. But all the kings like Santanu, who are descendants of Kuru, Kuru is basically a king of Kurukshetra, right? So he is living. He was there in there. So after that, you have a couple of generations, and Shantanu completely settled in Hastinapur. So the movement was towards eastwards. So that way, Sindhu become a little bit farther, kind of a frontier, western frontier for them. That is one reason. Second one is there was an ideological split happened between, like, for example, there was the same people who were living on the banks of Saraswati. That is why I mentioned about Abhivartin Chayamana and Srinjaya Devavata together fighting battles as if they are allies on Haryubhya and Yavyavati. So they were all ideologically very same kind of people. Slowly there was an ideological shift, split. Some people refused to worship Indra, and they were called Anindra, and they moved westwards. So Anava, so that is the Anava tribe who were moved westwards. So they were living on the banks of western rivers, like to the west of Parushni. And it is a matter of surprise that that split, currently, if you look at that split, is represented by India and Pakistan. Because Parushni is the border river, the Ravi river is the border river that separate India and Pakistan along the Punjab border. And Dasharajna battle also happened in that Parushni river. And if you look at all the people who are against Indra, they were settling in the kingdoms. Later, that regions were named as Madra, that is Sakala Sialkot, and then Kekaya, that is the Wagh city in Pakistan, Gandhara, that is Charasadda and Takshashila. All these people are somewhat not very happy with Indra, and they were all confined to the west of the river Parushni, and anything west of the river Parushni, that is Ravi river, the central river for that entire region is the Sindhu river. So you can see, like, these mostly the people who are not very much interested in the Puranic narrative, the authorship of Puranas, they are all confined to towards the banks of Sindhu. Soon enough, like by the time of late Vedic period, they were confined to that region. Some of them went to further westward and inhabited Iran and become Iranians, etc. So if you look at this is another reason why Sindhu is not having that kind of a prominence in the Puranas, because the entire Sindhu region with bordering the Parushni in the east and Ubha, Kabul river in the west, populated by people who are slightly offset. I will not say 100% offset, but maybe at least 10% or maybe 25% offset to the Vedic or Puranic civilization. They were not participating in the Puranic directly. Now they were not directly participating in the Puranic narrative. So they will be referred in the Puranas as the people of Gandhara or of people of Sindhu Desha, Sauvira Desha or Madra Desha or Cambodia Desha or KKM. All these names they were giving, and they were living in somewhat like a 25% cultural offset with the Bharatiya kind of tradition. And as if that it's a kind of a strange twist of history. This entire got separated like as Pakistan.
So, do we have time for another question? It's related, so quick question.
Yeah, you can.
Yes. So, you mentioned that people who are against Indra, they went to the western side, Pakistan mein ya Afghanistan and that side. Uh, I'm just wondering if Indra is the name of a position rather than a person. So, what kingdom does Indra belong to? Was it Jammu Kashmir? I mean, geographically.
Yeah. So that's a very kind of tricky question, because even when you say that they went to Pakistan, that is not very correct, because wherever they went later became Pakistan. That is a little more correct. So similarly, because
Yes.
we typically have this the possibility of projecting the future things into past. So now this is like I was saying, as a strange twist of like destiny. They all got confined into today into from 1947 into Pakistan, but earlier that entity was not there. Similarly, when Indra was living, the entire concept of kingdom also not there, because the concept of Janapada started coming in the late Ṛgvedic period onwards. In the early Ṛgvedic period, there was only a concept of city state that is like represented by Harappan cities. So the political power was confined to some dots, dot. That means there is one dot that will be like a one Harappan city, and there will be some 5 kilometer radius. That is one political power. Another political power after this particular Harappan city, then after several kilometers, 50 kilometer, another king was there, and there is a small town there, and there is some group of people 5 kilometer they are living there. So that was the kind of, there was no Janapata concept. Larger entity called Janapada was not there. So even though then even this question was very much interesting to me. So because the reason, because there was some Western scholars like Michael Witzel who tried to geographically locate Indra into BMRC region in order to support Aryan invasion theory. So BMRC is a region to the north of Afghanistan, northwest of Afghanistan, in the Bactria, whatever we call Balk today. So he was, because by referring to the Ṛgveda and all, he was trying to say that, oh, Indra is from that BMRC region. So the very existence of Indra itself prove Aryan invasion theory, that they came from the Central Asia, supporting the this steppe migration theory, that is Aryan invasion theory. So when I looked at, I have mentioned in my book also, this is completely, I could not find any evidence supporting Indra, locating Indra to the BMRC region, that is northwest of Afghanistan or anything. The very clearly Ṛgveda mentioned the favorite river of Indra is Parushni river. So of course Indra is the lord of all the rivers, so all the rivers respect Indra. But if you look at any river, if Indra has some special interest, just like Krishna is related to Yamuna, Kalindi. Krishna is always mentioned as living on the banks of Kalindi, Yamuna, and that is the cradle of the Mathura civilization, Yadava civilization. Krishna was born in that area. If there is a kind of any kind of such equivalence, then Indra has Parushni river, that is Ravi river, as the favorite river of Indra. So I would identify the birthplace of Indra along the Parushni river. So then it will be like, and mostly because he is more or less related to the mountains. If I am asked to identify the birthplace of Indra, I would identify somewhere in the source of the Parushni river in the Himachal Pradesh, or even like some other rivers like Satluj. Another candidate like Satluj river, Shatadru river is another candidate for Indra, because this is because in the later Mahabharata period, Indra is associated with the region which is very close to the source of Satluj river. If you look at that's why I'm writing now a book on the Mahabharata, and it is supposed to be released on January of 2024, where I will show that the Aitihasik Indra, that is that as you mentioned, Indra is a title. So there was a earlier Indras in the early Ṛgveda and then middle Ṛgveda and late Ṛgveda. And similarly, during the period of Mahabharata, when Pandavas are living, there was somebody designated as Indra. And that Indra was somewhere associated with the source of Satluj River, the Manasa Sarovar, Himalaya, the Tibetan Kailas region. So these are like, these two rivers are the source of origin of these two rivers are the prime candidate of Indra, but especially Ṛgvedic Indra is very much associated with Parushni River. So he must be somewhere like in the mountainous origin of Parushni River. That is where we will be considering as the kind of geographical identity of Indra's locality.
Right. So that was really, really insightful. My question arose from the fact that Ravan's son, Meghnad, was called Indrajit. So when you're talking about Indrajit, so it would not be that Ṛgvedic Indra. It would be just another king who is like Janaka, is just a position name. Indra would just have been a position name. I'm assuming that.
Correct.
So,
Yeah. That is correct. Yeah. So in the second book, Geography of Ramayana, I mentioned about many kings are attributed as a representative of Vishnu and as Indra there. So Vishnu is some king who were ruling in Dhalavira region. Dhalavira is also associated with Dwarka, which is this is on the mouth of Saraswati in the Ran of Kutch. So this kind of possibilities are there, because even today in Nepal, the king is represented as the incarnation of incarnation of Vishnu. So both Vishnu and Indra are represented on earth in the form of kings. So most of the time references to Indra is basically some king who is represented as Indra, or some other king who is represented as Vishnu. And that is why you see Indra referred in Ramayana and Indra referred in the Mahabharata, some Arjuna Bhaigamana, etc. There you can see Arjuna interacting with Indra, etc. So these are all because there are kings who are designated as Indra in later Aitihasic period, who are like contemporary kings who were given that designation as Indra while the Pandavas or Rama was living, like that.
Right. So thank you so much.
Yeah. So I think there are no questions. I mean, today it has extended to 1.5 hours, but the Saraswati is a very important river, and so this session is also a very important chapter or session. So it's fine. I mean, so maybe all of you can look at very much positively and look at my book Rivers of Ṛgveda, so that even before the session you can also come out with some understanding about the river that we'll be discussing in subsequent sessions, so that you can have like a lot of interesting questions like this, and we can also have a deeper understanding about our subject. So with that, I'll conclude.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And yeah, that was a very fruitful discussion at the end. So already time has passed. Let us all wind up the session by chanting the Shanti Mantra together. Om Lokah Samastah Sukhino Bhavantu. Lokah Samastah Sukhino Bhavantu. Lokah Samastah Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.